All right, this here is going to be my second "the metric system is bad" video, and I'm going to present another alternative to the metric system. This one is so simple, okay? So before you dislike the video, I just want you to try the math, okay? Before you do anything bad, just at least hear out the video, okay? At least try engaging with the mathematics before you dislike it, okay? So the fundamental issue with the metric system is, first of all, it's not English, but it's actually four different languages, okay? It's Greek, it's Latin, it's Danish, and it's Spanish. And the actual names themselves are not descriptors. So for example, when we take the word nano as in nanometer, nano means dwarf in Latin. Dwarf is not a quantity, right? So, some of these are quantities, some of them aren't. And, my objection to metric is two things. The first thing is, if I give you the word nanometer, you can't actually figure out the size of a nanometer without looking it up, okay? And secondly, you couldn't tell if a nanometer or a picometer or femtometer is bigger without existing knowledge. You don't know which is the bigger unit. Now, this here is the simple system. It's really awesome. It's designed to be simple. Okay, so instead of having a kilometer and a decameter and a megameter, we just have a 100 meter, 1,000 meter, and a million meter. So how many meters are in a million meter? Can you guess? If you guessed a million, you would be correct. And then on the flip side, when we're talking about like fractions, we just go like a fracto 10 meter, a fracto 100 meter, a fracto 1,000 meter. How many fracto 1,000 meters are in a meter? If you guessed 1,000, you would be correct. So let's try actually doing some mathematics here, okay? First, I want you to tell me how many hectometers are in a gigameter. Try it, okay? So you're allowed to use Google, but you're not allowed to use AI, okay? No AI, but you're allowed to use Google to look up how many meters are in a hectometer. Try the actual calculation and time it. Tell me what you get, all right? Now I'm going to pick a different one for the simple system, but similar concept, because otherwise you'll already know the answer from the previous calculation, okay? So now we're going to try the same type of math with the simple system, okay? Tell me how many 10 meters are in a million meter. Well, I can do that in my head, all right? I know it's going to be 100,000, right? Because you just divide. I know there's a million meters in a million meter, and I know there's 10 meters in a 10 meter. So I just divide a million by 10, and I get 100,000. I can do that in my head in a quarter of a second. The simple system is faster than the metric system, but the metric system isn't that bad, okay? The metric system is maybe 7 out of 10, okay? The simple system might be 9 out of 10, all right? And the imperial system might be like 1 out of 10. So is it worth switching from the imperial system to the metric system? Yes, because the imperial system is absolute garbage, okay? It takes you like 20 minutes to figure out one calculation. Metric system is much, much faster, but it's still not that fast, right? Now, in terms of economics, though, to change every ruler, every textbook, all this and that, it's a lot of effort, all right? So that's a good argument against the simple system, in my opinion, because the benefits from switching to metric to simple aren't as big as going from imperial to metric. However, in the long term, using the more efficient system is always the better option. It might not have benefit now, but 100, 200 years in the future, it could be really economically beneficial, right? And another thing I want to talk about is, you can just look this up. It's crazy. Okay, so look up how much medical accidents are caused by people confusing Latin terminology. So in medical practice, you use all these Latin terms, like instead of saying pinky finger extender, they say extensor digiti minimus, or however you say that in Latin, right? Now, that's easy to mix up, okay? Because, people don't actually speak Latin. It's very easy to mix up a language you don't actually speak. And thousands of preventable deaths are caused by people confusing Latin terminology. So it's a crazy thing, because it takes much more effort to learn the Latin. You waste a lot more time in school to do all this. And then in reality, it leads to disastrous consequences. I really doubt anybody's going to confuse like an eye for a nose, you know? Medical miscommunication is a really serious problem, okay? And you can see this irrationality in all areas of science. Like in organic chemistry, we use these terms like butane, propane, octane, nonane, hexane. Some of these terms are Greek, some of them are Latin. So even if you speak like Latin, you wouldn't understand it. You need to speak Latin and Greek, right, to understand these functions. And another area that's just so irrational, it's just mind-blowing, is time, okay? Time is my favorite thing. I'm Mr. Time, all right? Almost all my like insights into like philosophy are regarding time, and time has got to be the most irrational of all systems. I don't know how we can use something so irrational. We don't even use metric, right? So like just look at time, you know. We have 60 seconds in a minute, we have 60 minutes in an hour, but then we have, you know, 1,000 milliseconds in a second. So we use like base 10 there. And then we're using like the Babylonian system for like minutes and hours. And then we're using a different system again for like weeks and months, like because there's 7 days in a week, right? That's like a biblical system. And then we have 365 days in a year. I guess that's, well, that's not, that one's kind of like a fact based on the sun, right? But you know, anyways, the point is, time is just so irrational, and when we make things rational, when we make our systems rational in the long run, it really improves the speed we can do things at. We can really improve the way we think about. And you know, I've given people the simple system and the metric system, and I give them a simple question, and you know, I just ask them how many meters are in a gigameter. Right? And most people don't know. You might know it from like gigabytes, megabytes, terabytes, and so forth. But the average person wouldn't know, right? And I say, well, how many meters are in a billion meter? I don't know, a billion? Yeah, correct. So someone who never used a simple system in their life, they're still faster at mathematics than when they use the metric system. And they've never used it in their life. They've used the metric system their whole life. They never used a simple system once, and they're already faster, right?